Welcome to the Vigor Life Podcast, a source of inspiration, lessons, stories, skill sets, mindsets, and strategies to invigorate and expand all areas of your life. Let's go. What's going on? Coach Luka with the Vigor Life Podcast, and we're back here with none other than the man, the myth, the legend, and also my bald-headed brother, Joe Defranco. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and we just got done. By the way, we just got done with the CPPS here at Vigor Ground, which, if you have not taken it, you absolutely must take it. Joe and Smitty over-delivered on another level, hands-on. Basically, 20 years I'd say 40 years combined of training knowledge, packed up into a system that pretty much you can just take and use. So for any coaches out there, man, you definitely got to do this. We do a lot of continuing ed, and some things I don't talk about as much. Some things I talk about more, which are like, this is the stuff that you got to do. So if you got an opportunity, definitely do that. It was a great weekend. And
yeah, we appreciate you having us out. I know. I remember when I had my gym, it's a pain in the ass moving appointments around and shutting things down for the weekend. So we appreciate you accommodating us. It was one. Everyone is good, but it was one of our best ones. It was pleasure, a good week.
That's just been a big thing for us. Obviously, is to continue to get part in, bringing the best in the world in. It's great for the teams, great for the coaches.
It shows in your trainers.
It's and sometimes it's good because they'll go like, oh man, we know this,
Yes.
some of this, but like you've been such a huge influence on, I would say, a lot of the things that we do, and our coaches know you from obviously coming up in industry, and I'm always like, man, you got to check this out. You got to get all these products. So if you go in the library, like there's a whole deck of all the products from you guys.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
But that's, today I kind of wanted to go around a little bit. There's so many things I want to talk to you about. But the first thing that I actually wanted to touch base on, because I like these things to just go where they're going, like conversationally. But you've been around and done so many things in industry. And as far as like, you've been an owner operator, you've coached the best of the best, like you kind of grew that business. Now you're in a different place. But the two things that I wanted to ask you is like, if you had to take the old school, like the principles, foundational principles that build a great business, but then also plug in and say, hey, what's still important now, the new age, right? To become successful in industry. So and this means as a coach that you're great with getting actual results, but also with the side of how do you get people to know that you're a great coach. And so it's kind of like what's, blend the old school with the new school, because obviously there are things that you just can't ignore these days that are important, but there's obviously these principles that will stand the test of time, even 100 years from now. You're like, you got to pay attention to these.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I do some consulting now for new trainers, and I always tell them, like, back when I started, you just had to be known in your own town. Like, it was like, it didn't matter if I had a big Instagram following or YouTube following. It was like, you better be the best in your town, because that's where you're drawing your business from, and that's where you're getting your clients from. Where that's all I focused on, was being like the kind of local hero in the town. And now I feel like even kids that might be from this area, they might be a 10-minute drive from this gym, they're more on Instagram and social media, so they're not necessarily even looking. The world is so big, yet it's gotten so much smaller, because now they're going on Instagram, and if they're looking for fitness information or athletic training, they might gravitate towards somebody from another country, another state. So like, how do you need to not only be the man in your town, but you have to kind of get that information out there. So I think it's that fine line of, you still first and foremost have to take care of the people in your gym. Like, if somebody's coming to train with you, they're coming to Vigor, you want them to have the best experience possible, and you need to be focused on over delivering for them. But within that, it's like, how do you get that information out there and show other people the positive things you have going on in here? And so now I think you almost have to have some kind of, some people will say like, oh, I'm old school. I'm not into that social media stuff. I don't want to be having my phone on me at all times. But if you're not into it, you better hire someone that is. And that would be my main thing, is where, like, my first hire back in the day was a trainer, because it was just all about training. And then when I couldn't fit any more clients in my schedule, I hired another trainer and trained them to get more clients in. But now I would say I would probably start, and one of my first hires, besides someone to help you organize the business and do kind of the day-to-day administrative type stuff, would be someone with a camera to follow me around and just capture the stuff that's going on, provide value to other people. You're not just kind of showing off, but provide value, give information. And then the more I found, as far as giving, the more stuff I've given for free, the more business that is driven to my business.
Because the thing is, that's one of, like you talked about this a while back, but you were one of the first people that did a Q&A, and it was like, here's the question, here's a whole article, here's videos on it. I mean, and this was probably, over 10 years ago. I mean, it was that around that time frame. Even
long. I could even tell you, it was 2003. I started the Ask Joe e-newsletter was like the big thing, and I hired my first business consultant back then, and it's funny because I pay this guy, and the only advice he gave me was, and he had known me, he was like a family friend, so he had known me for close to 10 years, so he knew kind of like how passionate I was about training, and not that I know it all, but like as far as people he knew, I was the most knowledgeable, fitness / training expert, so he advised me against giving away free information. He was like, you're crazy. He was also into web design and stuff. So he was like, and this was new back then too. He goes, I could have half your site could be free, and then you answer half of a question, and then they could click on it, and then it goes to the paid wall. And it was like groundbreaking back then. I was like, whoa, you could do that? But I was like, that's crazy. But he goes, that's what you have to do. He goes, I know you have way too much information, way too much value. You've been training all these guys. You can't just give that away. And like, I really thought about it. I agonized over it, and I was like, you know what? Even back then, I don't consider myself the smartest guy in the world, but I was like, you know me, like speaking to this guy, you know me, the rest of the world doesn't know me. So if I'm making them pay for it, who's going to pay for it? Because these other people they'll never know that I know my stuff, or I could help them out if I don't give it a little bit to them first. So I disagreed. I ended up not going with him, and I'll never forget, I would see him at some family functions and stuff, and he was always like, giving away too much for free. You're giving away too much for free. And my Ask Joe newsletter, every Friday I would answer 5 questions, but I would go deep. Like it wasn't like one sentence answers.
Like you do a blog answer.
It was paragraphs, picture. There was no videos. This is before YouTube. So I would just have pictures accompanying my answers. And I'll never forget, I started the first week, I had 50 people on the newsletter list, and a lot of it was like family members that I just put their email in myself. They didn't even sign up, and it just grew slowly. But after the first year, I think I had like a couple thousand, and then it got to the point I was like at 50,000 newsletter subscribers, and this is like 2004, 2005. Shit. That was huge,
crazy
back then.
Numbers. Yeah,
huge
those are good numbers today.
Yeah.
That's crazy numbers back then.
So that's how, and I always tell the story. So that's 2003 to 2005 or 6, and a lot of good came out of that because a lot of people found me. And then what happens is when you give away enough, that piques people's interest, and then I know how I am. Like if I read a really good book, I want to meet the author. I'm not going to say, I read the book. I know everything that the author has written. I want more. So I think that's what happened. People would read my Q&A, and then I started having athletes come to me, not only from New Jersey, but I remember my first kid came from Maryland, and then I had a kid from Ohio, and then there was the first out-of-country kid, a hockey player from Canada. We're all coming to New Jersey to train, and when I would ask, how did you find out about me? They go, I go on your website. I get your newsletter. Ask Joe on Friday. I love the Ask Joe on Friday. And so that started to make me realize, like, wow, I think I made the right decision giving this stuff away for free. And the ultimate example was in 2011. I get a call from Triple H from the WWE. I'm training a group of college athletes during the summer. And my wife now, girlfriend at the time, comes up to me. She's like, some guy left you a message. He claims he's in the WWE, and he left his real name. So she's like, Paul Levesque or Levesque. I don't know. And I was like, I never heard of that guy. put the note on my desk. Maybe I'll call him back if I have time. And one of the college kids in the group, thankfully, because I probably would have never called him back, but one of the college kids was like, Paul Levesque, that's Triple H's real name. And so we Googled it, and it was him. I called him back. Turns out, when I asked him how he found out about me, he goes, I tore my bicep tendon. I had shoulder surgery. I started researching more athletic-based training and more performance-based. I always trained like a bodybuilder, but I've been starting to suffer a lot of injuries now. So I kept just researching online how to train more like an athlete, and your name kept popping up. And he goes, I found these old Q&As, I guess you used to do on your website, and you answered some questions on shoulder, like rehab, prehab, warming up, strengthening, overhead pressing versus other ways to train the shoulder, all the shoulder stuff that I had put information out on. So he goes, it piqued my interest. You seemed like you knew your stuff. And then I kind of followed up with you and realized you're still around. He goes, he's very humble, but he's like, being a celebrity, I'm careful who I invite into my home, obviously, but I see that you've been training athletes since 2003, even though I started in 1999. But he's like, I followed your stuff since 2003. Now it's 2011. I looked through your website and I see you're still going strong. Your business has progressed. He saw kids that I was writing about that were in high school in 2003 were now in the NFL. So he's like, if guys have stuck with you that long, I felt comfortable giving you a call. I met him a week later at his house. He hired me, and now it's 8.5 years later, and I'm still training him. And that relationship changed the course of my business, because I consult for the WWE strength and conditioning program. I personally train Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. That helped me kind of get out. Not that I ever want to get out totally of training, but I don't have to train people 12 hours a day anymore. I could do it for 3 hours a day and work on other aspects of the business. So that's the longer than I wanted to make it.
That's a phenomenal answer, because it's actually like that brings me to I want to pack a whole bunch of stuff here. But I mean, one of the things I feel like today that actually still works, even in a written setting. If you're good at writing, if you have good stuff, and for a gym owner, I think a huge benefit that people actually don't see is that when you write quality work, it's for your members as for the outside world.
Yes.
So, for instance, we do so much video now, and somebody goes like, man, this is bugging me. Like, hey, check out like this video series on, getting more thoracic rotation extension. That's going to help your shoulder out. People do it, go like, holy shit, like 2 weeks is feeling better, right? So it can be internal resource for the team. It can be externally for the marketplace. But the other part that I think is where most people kind of miss the whole point is, you said, I was doing this shit like years and years and years later. So you have this whole body of work and consistency over time, and not like, hey, listen, I've been doing this for 4 months. I don't understand why, Triple H is not hitting me up about like this great video that I just shot, and so the combination of those two. But to kind of piggyback on that, like, so how do you think that's, I mean, obviously it's changed today, and even the way that you approach it has somewhat changed. But when it comes from, because there's so much white noise now, right? Yep. I mean, everybody's doing shit from videos to blogs. To
it is harder to get recognized.
It's harder to get recognized. Is there like something that you feel, is helpful for somebody that's just like, okay, apart from, because you got to be consistent. Don't get this twisted, and you got to be relentless with it. But what is something that you see that's like, man, people are missing a point on this thing that could help them break through the white noise?
I think, well, you said it, and quality, consistency and quality. Consistency, you definitely have to kind of be in people's face. Unfortunately, you can't. I was always more about quality over quantity, but if you post once a month, no matter how good it is right now, I don't think it would have to be like really, really groundbreaking stuff. And even then, I'm not sure you would be able to get recognized. So I would almost put consistency first, although a very close second for me is providing quality information and value. And I think, and at least I hope, right now we're in this time where like these marketing kind of, the marketing is overriding the information, where we all know the top guys in the industry don't have the biggest, followings. At least some of them do, but for the most part, there seems to be an inverse relationship between your Instagram following and how much you actually know. Because a lot of the best coaches, they love coaching, or the scientists out there that are into the science and they're doing the research. They're not as concerned about posting on social media. So we know a lot of the top guys in the industry that could care less about their social media following. But I think if you have a gym business, or you do like we do, you have a physical gym and you want to try to provide, you want to get people through your door, you still have to provide valuable content. And I hope that consistent, valuable content, eventually you're seeing now that these kind of imposters, like the dude that just has 6-pack abs and takes a picture of himself eating breakfast every day, but doesn't really provide much value, but you could tell he's got some marketing behind him and he's got really good quality pictures. Like, a lot of these young kids are getting fooled. A lot of young girls with the Instagram models just taking pictures of their butt, and it's like, oh, she has a nice body, so I'm going to buy her program. Yet they don't do their due diligence and say, well, what is this woman's background, And I think I say there's I know I'm kind of going in circles, but like, if I could talk to the consumer for a second and not the trainers out there that are producing the content. If you're going to buy something from myself or Luka or any other trainer or fitness influencer, whatever the hell they call them now, I would look at 3 things. Number one, for me, I say it's like a pyramid. The base of the pyramid for me is experience and results with other people that have similar or had similar goals to you. So if you wanted to train for the NFL Combine, or whether you're, a woman looking to lose weight for her wedding and look better in her wedding dress, whatever your goal is, if you're going to find a trainer online, that whether you want to go physically train with them or buy an online program from them, first you want to see how many other NFL Combine athletes has this guy trained, or how many other women did this guy help, get ready for her wedding. Whatever your thing is, find that person and then do a little bit of research first. How many people have they trained and how long have they done it for? Check out their track record. After that, I think going up in the pyramid, it would be their actual education and their knowledge. Did they go to, and we know like a degree isn't the be all end all, but I feel like if you went to college or you have a bunch of certifications, it at least shows you're willing to put some time in. You're usually, if you're a quick fix guy looking to make a quick buck, you probably don't have a degree. You probably don't have 3-4 different certifications. You're not going to take the time or invest that kind of money in that. So that would be number 2 for me. And for me, the least important, yet it still definitely holds weight, is how that trainer or coach looks themselves. Like, I think it's important to still look the part. As I get older, and I've had back issues my whole life, but I still want to make sure in a t-shirt and shorts, someone will look at me and say, hey, that guy looks pretty fit for a 43-year-old dude. I'm not going to let myself go completely. The problem is on social media, I think most people, they weigh that the heaviest. It's just, what do you look like?
First pyramid.
Yeah, it's what do you look like? Oh, she's got a nice body. I'm going to buy her program. Oh, that dude shredded. I'm going to buy it. And it's just like, you got it all wrong. So if you're looking to, buy an online program or join a gym or hire a trainer, spend a week at least and do your research first before you spend your hard-earned money on these people. And I know I kind of went in a roundabout way, but I guess the point I was trying to make is, in this day and age, I'm hoping guys like us that put out quality, consistent, helpful, valuable information, if we keep doing that consistently, the frauds are kind of getting exposed, and you're seeing it now. People are buying online programs and they're not getting sent the program, and bad news travels fast on social media. So you're seeing some of these social media celebrities and fitness influencers get exposed, and I'm hoping within the next 2 to 3 years, the cream is going to rise to the top, and people are going to become a little more educated on who they hire. So that's what I feel like guys like us, just if you stay consistent, keep putting out quality information, provide value to people, and it might not come quick. Excuse me. It might not come quick, but it will get recognized. I've never seen hard work, consistent hard work not pay off eventually, but you do need patience.
Yep.
You do need patience.
And the thing that you made a great point, but it is happening. And, when I've talked to people that kind of can see where things are going, is that more and more, even bigger companies, like in 3 to 4 years, you're going to have these big companies that are going to start investing more money in social media.
Yes.
They're still not. And they're looking at people that are having great conversations that are like, I would say, micro content in the sense of, hey, instead of going, oh, you got a great butt in the comments, it's like, hey, how are you doing that lunge? I noticed that you do this, that, and the other, right? So it's engagement of the actual content, and meaningful answers, like having a conversation that delivers value versus like, she's hot, let me buy that program.
Exactly.
Like, and there's going to be more and more of that happening because, put it this way, you're going to filter that through. And I think for anybody that's in a craft of like coaching, whether it's athletes, whether it's body transformation stuff, is to, this one of the things I definitely do agree with Gary Vee on is like the documenting what you're doing.
Yes.
Versus, and I'll touch on this whole thing, like kind of pulling people in with some more kind of interesting, exciting, fun stuff, but then documenting what you're doing and just showing people like, hey, listen, like here's a client, like here's what we're doing with them. I'm coaching them anyway. I'm not making shit up. I'm just coaching them, and you can see how we already coach. So the person goes like, oh man, they're just like me, and oh, I have that issue too, and this is what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So now you go from information to integration to like, I think the highest peak is do it yourself, which we can't do for people in fucking fitness, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, that's kind of like the path, and the more people that see you, whether it's online or physically, right? But online just gives you more of an opportunity to get in front of people and be to get in front of them gift kind of analogy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's where the attention is, again, whether you like it or not. And I love that, you talk about documenting like Gary Vee talks about, and it's so true. And that's for the old school mentality, because I deal with a lot of people. Now I've been in this industry, well over, I'm going on 25 years, close to 25 years. The few that are left that are like around my age that just can't get into the social media thing. That's what I tell them. Like, you just have you don't have to be holding the camera and taking selfies. If you love coaching and you're coaching anyway, hire a 20-year-old kid who loves filming and who loves Instagram, and have him just film you. You don't even have to know he's there. You're doing what you do anyway. Document it. Let him put it on your Instagram, and now you show that to the world, and now you're going to attract attention. I think they spend too much time thinking about like, well, I don't like doing that, but they don't realize is that thing that they don't like doing helps them do more of what they like doing. Because if you reach more people, you're going to be able to help more people, whether it's in person or through an online program. And that's why even I switched my business to more. I still have a small physical location, but you get older, and I had kids, and I'm just like, I truly still do love training and talking training and providing. I love writing articles and making videos. You want to help more people. I realized like I was in the gym 12 hours a day, and I started out doing all one-on-one training, so working your ass off. But at the end of the day, you helped 10 people or 12 people. Where now I put out, to your point, if I have an intern record one of my sessions, and you don't have to give away everything, but show a exercise you think might help people. If you sit at a desk all day, here's something that might help your low back. Like, show a piece of your workout. Now you just, you could reach millions. A post could go viral. We don't know which ones are going to hit or what's not, but you just keep providing that value. One goes viral. If you're that passionate about helping people, you just helped thousands, if not millions of people. Some of them are going to come, whether you have seminars or certifications or products. Now they're going to invest in you and buy your stuff and come train with you. And now you're able to make a living providing value, doing something you love in a very, that's something that's very fulfilling too, right? Like, I always struggled with the money thing because I didn't grow up with money. So it's almost like I didn't like asking people for money, and you almost feel guilty taking people's money. And, I always struggled with that coming up in this industry. And then you realize, like, if you're providing value and you're helping people, they're going to go to someone else that they're going to give their hard-earned money to that's not going to help them.
Yep.
Why not just, and that's why one of my core values is just to always over-deliver. Whatever you give me $10, I'm going to give you $100 worth of value. You give me $100, I'm going to give you $1,000 worth of value. So I know I'm always providing more value than the money I'm asking. Plus, I'm doing something I love. Plus, I'm helping people. That, to me, that's the best way to make a living and make money and feel good about it. And not, if anybody suffers from that same problem that I have, like money was considered like not that I grew up in the hood, but it was like the dudes with the nice cars and stuff. It's like, who's dealing drugs and who's doing this. You know what I mean?
My mom told me, like, we grew up in communism.
And then you associate like nice things with that,
exactly. Yeah. But I mean, but with that said though, like, because right now I still believe that to be great at doing stuff online, that you have to coach in real life, or have had a ton of, I would say, experience. And now, when I say a ton of experience, now it's like people are like, all right, man, I've been in the industry for a year or two. I think I'm ready to go fully online. But I think, you're coaching human beings online, and there's no better, way to find out how to coach and the psychology of behavior change than it is face to face. Because I think it becomes even harder online. It becomes harder to be the person that's shelling out advice and coaching when, you've had, I don't know. Like I said, 2 years is not a lot.
No, it's nothing.
I mean, I think at 5 you kind of start,
we never even discussed this. And to me, when I consult with the younger trainers, that's my timeline. I say 5 years minimum, but I feel like I'm comfortable if you said I'm engrossed in this, in the gym, training real people for 5 years. I'm okay with you kind of providing some information and putting it out there. And tying this together, you mentioned, how I started the e-newsletter in 2003. Just to clear that up, I started training like professionally. I graduated college and got a job as a personal trainer in 1999. So literally, that's why I came up with the 5-year thing, because I feel like I had some knowledge, didn't have like the wisdom of really real world experience, but I had a good amount of knowledge that I could share and help a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Certainly didn't know everything, but I felt like 5 years was like a minimum, where that's where, in my case, I was doing a lot of training college kids for the NFL Combine. So 5 classes worth of NFL Combine training, over 100 athletes, thousands. It was like thousands and thousands of sprints coached. I had it all logged. I put out my first article and information on training an athlete for the NFL Combine, but that was 5 years, hundreds of hours, well, actually thousands of hours, but hundreds of athletes. Mm-hmm. And I felt like, okay, I know more than most on this. I'll put out some information, but that was the minimum. That was like 5 years minimum. I didn't say a word. Nobody knew who the hell I was. I didn't put any public information out there until I trained real people in person for 5 years. And I think that's a great kind of minimal, guideline for getting in, even training online. Again, because training people in person will help you become a better online trainer. But
Absolutely.
Being an online trainer doesn't really help shit with excuse my language, for in person. It's a different world. So I think you want to make a living online. Awesome. Go train real people for at least 5 years first.
I absolutely agree. Because once again, if you're going to see it in real life, you're going to be able to help somebody online.
Yes.
If you see it online, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to help somebody in real life.
Yes. You need to see it, because nothing, it's like someone could show you, the amount of people I met that say, I bought one of your programs, or I do your program. And then we watch them squat in person or run a sprint in person. And I'm like, that's not anywhere near the way I coach it or write about it. Like a lot could be lost in translation, not only obviously through writing, but even through video. Sometimes you need that coach's eye. To me, what separates the great coaches from just the good are those little tweaks. When we walked in here before the cert and you have a bunch of people in a class and you're walking around and just that little tweak of telling that guy, hey, sit your hips back a little bit more, turn your foot out a little bit, get your chest up. Like those little coaching tweaks and coaching cues, you don't get that online. Nope. And you need to see that and experience it and know when I write this online program, I already know the top 4 or 5 things that could be misinterpreted or go wrong with this exercise, with this program. So then you'll know I'm not just going to write squat. I'm going to provide a video with it, and I'm going to provide a couple bullet point coaching cues because I've trained thousands and thousands of people, and I know what the majority of them look like when I tell them to squat, for one example. But you have to do it in person first.
Yeah. So, I mean, to kind of touch on this, because I really wanted to, like, your transition, at what point in time were you like, okay, cool, I want to make this switch up and go more online? Or because, for people, like I talked to a ton of coaches. I don't know if you get a lot of the questions, but it's kind of like the path of the coach. And people don't know, I mean, even this weekend, we're at a couple people that came up and, talked to me and we're, hey, like, I've been doing all this coaching. Now the next step, this gym is offering me a position higher, being more of a director, but I love to coach.
Yes.
I want to progress. At what point in time, and was it for you that you went like, okay, cool, I'm good. Like, I don't know if I want to have the facility, have a team, this, that, and the other. I want to move in this direction and go smaller, go online. Like, what was the, I would say, transition point for you? And as far as like shooting for something to where you're like, okay, you know what? This is where I want to go now. This is what I want to build.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? Just talking a little bit about that. Like, what was the trigger that made you change your mind and shift?
I know this sounds cliche, but like I was starting to not be happy, like something that I love and am obsessed with, the gym and training. And I was getting to that point where like every time the phone rang, it would actually like, I would get mad and I like, what the hell's wrong with me? People are calling the gym, wanting to give me money and business to the gym, and I'd be like, oh God, another person to deal with, I got to hire someone else. Like I was going home unhappy, and I did that for almost a year, where I finally caught it, and my wife too. Like she could tell, like, if you're like exhausted and like if this isn't making you happy anymore, you need to make a change. And I knew I always wanted to be in this industry, but for me, I realized I thought the only way you could grow in this business, because again, I'm older, so the online thing almost didn't even exist when I started. So it was, you start in a small gym, you train as many people as possible, you keep going until you bust at the seams. Then you open up a bigger gym and hire some trainers, and then you go and you keep going bigger, and then you just keep opening up bigger gyms, or you franchise and you have a whole bunch of gyms. So that's, if you look at my route, my path, it was a 500 square foot facility, a 2,000 square foot facility, a 5,000 square foot facility, teaming up with On It in a 10,000 plus square foot facility. And it just, I wasn't happier as the business grew. And what I found was I just love training. I love coaching. That's my thing. I love helping people, but developing a team and, having meetings with the staff and like I just found that that's not my thing. I don't like it. Like, I know you're fucking great at, am I allowed to curse on this?
Oh,
Sorry.
absolutely.
All right, just checking. I know you're fucking great at that stuff, and you seem very passionate about the business end of the business. I'm not, and I have that, like, thankfully enough self-awareness to know, like, that's not me. I'm not really good at it. I don't love it. So how can I do? And it's almost weird because, like, I don't have a boss. Like, I'm my own boss. It's Defranco's gym. Yet it's almost like I was an employee of my own gym. Like, I worked for someone else, because my wife was like, you could do whatever the fuck you want? Like, it's your business. If you're not happy, change it. Shut the gym down. You could do literally what do you want? And then so finally it's like I shouldn't have needed someone else to tell me that, but it kind of hit me. I'm like, yeah, the things that stressed me in the morning, like, oh, this trainer's having problems at home, so he wants to meet with me, and I got to help him with, personal stuff and hiring people and firing people. Like, that stuff always just gave me like a knot in my stomach. So I said, I don't want to deal with that anymore. At this time, I had teamed up with Smitty, and we just started doing some online stuff. We just started our certification, our Defranco Insider membership site. So I'm like, there's other ways I could make a living doing this. I loved my 5,000 square foot gym was like my dream facility. I loved it. There is a part of me that misses it, but all the things I miss are like walking in the morning and seeing the guys and the camaraderie of the training. Running that as a business, I don't miss anything. As you know, the bigger it gets, just the more headaches. And not saying it can't be done, certainly, because you've done it. I just didn't like it. So I said, what do I love doing? I love training. I love writing programs. I love doing YouTube videos. I love talking about training. So that's when I started my podcast. And I said, all right, now I got couple online things going. My podcast, Triple H had just called me. I'm driving to Connecticut, training him 2-3 nights a week. I don't have to train people all day, and I don't need this big facility anymore. I could train the clients that I want in a much smaller facility. Some of these clients I'm even training at their own house. And the online thing I could do, in my car, out of the garage, at freaking Starbucks, doesn't matter. So it was the most difficult decision of my life, but that's when I decided the gym, unfortunately, as much as I love it, it's causing me too much stress in my life. Now I have twin daughters. I'm coming home. I'm exhausted. I'm angry. I'm mad. And so I made the decision to shut the gym down. And I just opened up a small 1,000 square foot facility that has a podcast studio, the equipment that I need to train a couple kind of VIP clients, whatever you want to call it, people that I want to train. So now I train a handful of people, just enough to keep me in the game because I love doing it. And I do the online stuff. And now I really just do, not that there's headaches in anything, obviously, but and a lot of hard work and late nights. But for the most part, 95% of what I do, like I wake up in the morning and I'm like excited to the point where like I'll run downstairs and like, forget to take a shower because it's like I just want to get started. It's and I didn't have that when I had the gym towards the end.
But that's a great point, like the awareness of, because I do think like, man, think about like even now, a lot of people are like, I got one gym, so I should probably have more. I mean, that's, it's like it's either that path or it's, well, that guy did X, Y, Z, so I know I'm doing well, but I should probably do this, right? And you're just kind of chasing somebody else's dream, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Whereas you figured out like, you know what? This is what I want to fucking do, so that's what I'm going to do, and this is what makes me happy. And I think that's key, is the self-awareness. And I think when you start young, you're figuring this shit out a lot more, right? It's like this path. You got to go through the kind of like the hard work of figuring it out, right? Like I said, purpose is not found, it's forged. I always loved that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And to get to a point where you're like, okay, well, listen, like, let's be real. Like, I don't like being an owner. I don't like doing this, that, and the other. That's one of the best fucking things that you can do. Because I still know people today that are, trudging along as like what they think they should do.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, maybe it gets better. And it's like, well, probably, like if you've been putting in maximum effort, you just don't enjoy doing this, maybe there's a different way. And like, there's stuff today that you couldn't do, 10, 15 years ago.
That's the thing. Now it's like, way I don't like to use the term easy, because nothing's easy if you're going to be successful. Everything takes hard work and consistency, but there's a lot more ways. Like literally whatever you love to do, you can make a career out of it. Like there's 8-year-old kids on YouTube making millions and millions of dollars, doing toy reviews. Like my kids watch this stuff on YouTube. I'm like, there's families who just film themselves, having a regular day and kids watch this and other families watch it and they're making millions off of advertisers for their YouTube videos. Like, there is just so many ways to make a living now. There really isn't an excuse. Like, I hate the term "do you," but like, that's basically what you're saying. It's like, do what you love and what you want to do. I fell into that trap. I worked at another gym that was very successful for 5 years, and their philosophy was more facilities, and they ultimately franchised, and that's awesome. Like, but I guess because I grew up in that environment in this industry, I just thought like that's how you grow a gym business. And it took me 10 years or 15 actually, 15 years to figure out like, yeah, that's one way of doing it, but there's a whole bunch of other ways. Like, but I just kind of blindly, it was weird. It was something I never even thought about. It was just like, oh yeah, this gym is, I've grown out of this gym. Open up a bigger one. Oh, it's time to hire more trainers. Open up a bigger gym with more trainers. And I never sat back and said, is this what you want to do? It was just, this is what the guy that I worked for did. So now that I'm on my own, I should just follow that. And it's crazy, but it's a shame it took me that long to figure it out. But I also think if I needed to experience it, because you don't know until you're in it. I don't think if I was going to do it all over again, I'd probably do the same thing, because I know in my head I'd say, well, I love the gym atmosphere. I love, like, I want to have my own gym. I'd probably do it again, just because I don't regret that experience. It's some of the best memories of my life. I just knew it was time to make a change.
And I think it's probably to the path. The point of it is that, like, you probably won't know until you do it and you
yes,
and you put your full effort in. Because I think that if you don't put in your full effort, like, let's say you become a coach, right, and you're bullshitting and you're never really giving your best to your clients and educating yourself and putting yourself out there and marketing, right? Like, how do you fucking know if you really are made for it, right? Because then it just means you're looking for the quick thing that's going to be easy.
Yes.
And then you're never gonna get there. You're never gonna find that.
Yep.
Right. Man, like, I'm gonna turn the corner a little bit, because, man, so many people hit me up. I posted, I said I'm gonna have a conversation with you, and probably had like 30 people say, oh man, I did West Side for Skinny Bastards, which is like, who didn't do that program? That was like one of the programs I was probably on for years.
That's funny.
And a lot of people ask, like, hey, what is still kind of like your thought process around? Because I really want to dig into, like, the way you train now. Because this is, I mean, and I told you, like, this is the fittest that, I've seen you, the way you looked. You just said you, like, man, the leanest that you've ever been. But from a standpoint of, coaching, how much of influence does that still have, the conjugate system? If a client comes to you, and let's say, obviously, if it's an athlete, is that something that you still use? But if it's a general client, how much of the influence of conjugate do you plug into that? And then how does that look like in your own training nowadays? Because obviously that's changed quite a bit. So, I mean, shit, it has for me. Like, we can talk about that.
Yeah. My own training now is much more like longevity based. While I lost weight, and a lot of people will say I look better, like, my number one goal is to feel better. And as a side effect of that, I drop body fat, and some people will say, oh wow, you look great. But it's funny because I'm not like the aesthetic, guy that's just training to look good on the beach. It was like, I have a lot of low back pain. I'm getting older, things hurt in the morning. So, like, I just want to feel better. But as it's nice training to feel good actually, helped aesthetically as well. But asking about the conjugate method, it's still a huge influence, definitely with athletes that come, the private athletes that we work with now. We still follow that type of system. I even, with Triple H and some of the WWE guys, the things I like about it, and we're always tweaking it. It's never just copying, it's not West Side for Skinny Bastards, how I wrote it 100 years ago. But I like the combo of training multiple different qualities, like building. So even in just general pop, 40-year-old guy, a housewife, like, I like building well-rounded strength, I call it, for them. So you want to be strong in many different areas. So I like having a quote unquote heavy day or a max effort day. Now, for a general pop client, that's not going to be a 1 rep max, but for them, it might be, we might go as heavy as they can with perfect form in a 6 to 8 rep range, on their main lift. And then the accessory stuff still stays the same. I focused on it way back when, and I'm still to this day, like a lot of upper back focus, postural muscles, a lot of volume for the upper back and posterior chain. The funny thing is, whether you work with elite athletes or guys that sit at a desk all day, you see the same issues.
The same stuff.
They just got there through, maybe different paths. Like a lot of the demands on the athletic field are creating shoulder issues and poor posture and tight hip flexors, and yet if you sit at a desk all day and you're just slouched over on your computer, you're going to get a lot of the same same shit. So it's funny how a training of an elite athlete and like a regular guy, they're certainly not the same from like, an intensity standpoint and the volume, but there's a lot of overlap with regards to the exercises. Because Cameron Joss says this, my longtime friend now and trainer, but he's like, we're all human, and humans move, we move the same, whether you're an NFL football player or, a CEO. We're all human beings, and we have our bodies move very similar. We have different shapes and structures, but a shoulder joint's a shoulder joint, the hip joint's the hip joint. So you see a lot of these common areas of dysfunction, and that's why a warm-up is super important, whether you're an athlete or a guy that sits at a desk all day. The upper back, postural muscles, posterior chain, and then I just like to keep them interested. I like having a quote unquote a heavier day, and then maybe a more dynamic day. For an athlete, it's going to be more intense things like sprints and jumps and med ball throws. But I think as a regular guy, a woman, I don't care if you're a mom or how old you are, you should still be able to be somewhat, when I say athletic, you don't have to be a pro athlete, but I want you to be able to move and perform a box jump. Maybe it's on a 6-inch box, but teaching you how to land properly from a jump, lunge, throw a med ball, and push a prowler, sprint with a prowler is very safe. So we're still having like max effort day and dynamic effort day, but it's tweaked to fit the individual. So
that's what I was about to say. Because when you look at like the structure of what you guys even presented this weekend, it's like this evolution, right? Because it's like all the things that just in the last 10+ years that we learned, and there was parts. From FRC to DNS to SFMA to rolling patterns but it's just like it's just evolved, but it's still has these good foundational principles inside of like how I don't know West Side for skinny bastards, but now it's just like on steroids, 10x, right? Like, but that's what I love about it, because same thing. Like if you're training somebody that's a little bit older or whatever it may be, you're just not going to do a back squat. You might do a double kettlebell squat or a Zercher squat or something that's going to fit them better.
Yes, and that's what that's the and the. Again, to the point of we're all human, so we squat, we hinge, we push, we pull, we lunge, we twist, we walk. Like it's the fundamental movement patterns are the same for everyone. If you're a 22-year-old elite athlete, we're going to maybe overload them a little bit more and do a little bit more volume, and the workout might be a little bit more intense. But if you're a general pop guy, washed up meathead, whatever you want to call it, those are still the fundamental movements. So I'm just going to give you a goblet squat instead of a back squat. We're going to maybe do a dumbbell floor press instead of a barbell bench press. It's just little tweaks like that, but the template is still the same as far as and I don't only follow one template, but if my kind of go-to is an upper lower split and a two different focuses. Again, I call it a heavy day or a max effort day. Heavy might be 10 reps. It's just one day we're going a little bit heavier on a main exercise, and one day it's a little bit more athletic based and a little bit more speed based. And not that we're doing that the entire workout either. Like if I say dynamic effort lower for a CEO, he's going to do a dynamic warm up, for 15, 20 minutes. We're going to get him feeling good first. Then he might perform a couple sets of box jumps as his main movement. And then it's a bunch of posterior chain stuff, core work. So it's not like, when I say dynamic effort, it's not like he's sprinting and then doing a whole bunch of jumps and a bunch of med ball throws and dynamic effort, box squats with
like
bands
the whole
and
day,
chains.
everything is just
the whole day,
stuff.
everything's explosive. Like, you wouldn't want to do that with a pro athlete either. Yeah. So it's like one main movement focus, maybe two, and then the rest of the accessory stuff is a lot of the stuff we talk about at the CERT. It's just all the dysfunctions that our body creates, whether it's from underuse or overuse, whether it's from sitting at a desk or playing, a sport. We basically try to do the opposite in the weight room. And I think that's a big mistake a lot of young trainers make, is if you get someone who says, say they get a football player that says, I need to get stronger. I'm a lineman and I want to pass block. I need to throw a harder punch. They're automatically going, it's like bench, incline bench, military press, where, we might incorporate those exercises. But actually, if that dude is punching at practice all day, you want to do the opposite and have him do a whole bunch of horizontal rowing and retracting the scapula and upper back work. You don't want to just mimic the movement that they're performing almost all day. That's a big mistake trainers make, or like basketball players all obsessed with their vertical jump. If a basketball player comes to me in season, the last thing we're going to do is jump. I'm going to focus more on getting him to overcome all the imbalances and all the stress that's placed on his body from jumping and cutting and playing basketball multiple times a week. So it's almost, there's that fine line between specificity, which is very important, and that's a whole nother podcast, but specificity and peaking for something and overcoming all of the
it's almost
imbalances.
Like bringing back the symmetry.
Yes.
Exact opposite of what you're constantly doing.
Exactly.
Which goes for life too, right? Because, you're just saying, you got a CEO, a lot of stress, a lot of a lot of sitting, a lot, right? So how do we reverse that? Because I don't give a shit like who you are. If you can get somebody to feel and perform better, man, that's a humongous win.
Feeling better, and especially in our industry, we have this persona, like trainers, and clients. It's just been engraved in their brain that like a good workout has to involve me feeling like I'm going to puke or throw up, or getting in. A lot of people don't go to the gym and they don't take that next step towards their health and getting in shape because they associate with what they have to do to get there. Now, it's not going to always be easy, but it certainly doesn't have to be. You feel nauseous, you feel sick after your workout, you're throwing up on yourself, you're sore for 3 days and you can't, get off the toilet. Like, it doesn't have to be that way either. I think more trainers need to focus on, it almost like that you hear about the flow state, when it's just the right amount of a challenge for someone. Like, especially when a new client would come to me, and I haven't worked with a ton of general pop, but we have, I'm more so now actually. The first thing, especially the first day, I want them to leave the gym feeling better. Like, yes, you'll break a sweat and that's all well and good, but I'm going to give them just the right amount of challenge. I'm not going to make it so easy, and I'm not going to talk the whole time and, bore them with science and too much coaching. But I'm also not going to just run them into the ground and have them do the workout of the day and puke all over themselves and be like, yeah, I'm a hardcore trainer. I kicked your ass. Come back tomorrow. It's that perfect challenge where they're not bored, but they're not like overly stressed and have anxiety over, oh my God, I don't want to train with Joe because he killed me yesterday. Give them just enough challenge that they're very, very, engaged and into it, but they're still working, and you leave them wanting more. Like, I want them to be like, yo, that was hard, but man, that was awesome. I feel great. I want to come back tomorrow. Not, I beat the shit out of them. They can't even get out of bed the next day. I've had people tell me like they work with trainers and they have to call out of work the next day because they can't get out of bed. Like you're not a good trainer. Anybody could make you tired. Not anyone could help you reach an actual result. Like the good trainers, it's more, I talk about the difference between workouts versus training programs. A workout is an individual thing. It's like a standalone, come into the gym, I'm going to pick out a bunch of random exercises and kick the shit out of you. Training program is a progressive program that each workout builds on the next. Monday's workout respects what we did on Saturday or Sunday, and it's preparing you for Tuesday's workout. And Tuesday's workout is going to be based on what we did on Monday and what we're going to do on Wednesday. And it's like it's all a progressive plan towards a specific goal, not just random boot camp class. We're just going to do random shit each day, and you're going to leave here feeling really tired.
Do you still see a lot of that though? Like, I mean, obviously, I still see a ton of like the. Is that maybe I don't know? Maybe I think it's happening even more, right?
Yes.
Where it's kind of like, well, because I mean, look, I certainly agree with. It's better for a person to just go do Zumba than do nothing. Or it's better for a person to do an unstructured workout with no plan and to do nothing. But that once again, does that mean that that's what we should be doing, especially as coaches? I mean, everything should be programmed. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to stick to the plan to the T because life happens and you adjust. But the kicker is that you have a plan from like, hey, this is my GPS from point A to point B. Here, let's reverse engineer it and put it to play. And I'm still seeing a lot of stuff that's just, it's whatever. And whatever usually gets you whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
100%. And I agree with you. I don't want to like be have it misconstrued what I'm talking about. Like you definitely moving and doing anything is better than nothing, 100%. But I just almost worry about like and not even to pick on CrossFit, but just that type of workout, like a really intense CrossFit workout. And it's not every facility, but there's good and bad in everything. Absolutely. But in the gym business, if you're bad, you could physically hurt someone. Like an untrained mom walks into some CrossFit gym, or I shouldn't even say any gym, and you jump into their boot camp class and you're with people that are fitter than you, younger than you, more mobile than you, and they just throw you in because you paid the monthly fee. That's what I worry about. And that's where I say, that's where maybe doing nothing might actually be better. If you're going to get injured and like literally be on the shelf for 6 months, I'm not even talking about like soft tissue injuries, like God forbid, a medical history, a heart problem, and then you just, go into this high intensity workout where they jack your heart rate up within the first minute of the class. Like that's what I worry about. Cause then we all get clumped together. It's, woman or man goes to gym, personal trainer, kills her, or kills him. Like, and then it's like, oh, what do you do? Oh, you're a trainer, right? Oh, I just read this article. Yeah. Just like you do what that guy in the article did. Like, I don't want to be associated with that. And I'm not that we're better than anyone, but we've both been doing this long enough where like our inner circle are not people doing that. So sometimes I have like my view of what's going on is a little bit skewed because I'm around the best of the best, and I know how much we all care and how we talk about running our businesses and training our clients. But when I consult younger trainers, like, and they tell me what's going on in the gym business and really with the masses, like I think that stuff is going on more than ever. Again, going back to the social media thing, as great as it is for us to post information that could actually be valuable and help people, it also has, it's made this culture of like everybody wants that badass, hashtag beast mode, like kicked my ass at the gym today, a picture of themselves passed out in like a pool of sweat, and hard work and all that is awesome. Like I'm all for it, but that sends that message of like every time you go to the gym, if you don't have a cool Instagram picture of you looking like you're half dead, the workout wasn't really worth it. So then the young trainers want to make a name for themselves, and it's they want to disguise their lack of knowledge and wisdom with just beating the shit out of people. So, Mr. Jones leaves there going, oh man, that my trainer kicks the shit out of me. He's really good, man. And it's just like, dude, but my 7-year-old daughters could kick the shit out of you. Put on a weighted vest and do burpees for an hour.
Hard workout.
Yeah.
100 sprints, 1,000 burpees, right?
Yeah,
like,
go do it.
You're dead.
We both killed you. We weren't even there.
But you know what? Because there's a lot of coaches listen to this, but like just a lot of people in general, I think it's important to point out, because I want to scare you to do the right thing.
Yes.
I guess. And perfect example, you got a person coming in and for instance, we go through the assessments. If you can't have quality overhead flexion with no weight, and you come into the gym and that person's doing kipping pull-ups or push presses or jerks or like for like, if you think about that, if you take a step back and you go like, this person cannot go overhead or has no thoracic rotation, right? And they can't do it with body weight. So meaning if I crank their arm, they'd be like, ow.
Yes.
with body weight, right? But then we're going to load that. We're going to do a lot of reps and we're going to do it under fatigue. Like, look, that's going to cause an injury. And there's two parts of this that are, really to look at. Number one, people can go after you, but first of all, it's like, hey, thou shalt do no harm. Number one rule.
Yes.
And you're trying to make people feel better, get them results, have them leave and be like, hey, that bugged me and it doesn't bug me anymore. Mm-hmm. And not like I came in that, I was out of shape and with low energy and I wanted to lose weight, but now I also have my shoulder killing me and my low back killing me. And if you're a client doing the due diligence to go, what is the gyms or the coach's approach to these things? But if you're a coach, like that's a red flag. Like for anybody listening to this, and if you're running a group training class, you're doing any type of whether it's small group, bigger group, semi-private training, to have some type of system where you can go like, hey, that teaching people what they can't do, having progressions, regressions. You'll rarely ever see actually in a group training class, we do very low overhead work. And I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. The truth is that 8 out of 10 people that come through here.
Exactly.
When they come through at first, before we work with them on it, they can't press in a healthy way overhead. And we might do a bunch of other stuff that is going to get them there. But, if you go to a place where there's 20 people, 15, 30 people, and everybody's doing, squat thrusts with dumbbells and a clean or snatch or, stuff that really you have to have quite a bit of, mobility and stability to get there. That's a problem. And, and because the point you made on social media is social media makes things go so fast and is so like in your face that it's harder to relay that, right? Because people are like, oh, let me just show this crazy workout. Versus,
they're scrolling. You got 3 seconds to get their attention.
Exactly. And so it is. I know for me too. It is one of those things where, I'll put out like, hey, here's 99 of the best glute training exercises. Because somebody's like, oh man, let me archive that. Let me see what this guy's doing. But then another video is going to be like, hey, listen, most people can't get overhead. Here's 3 drills that'll help you get overhead. And so I do think that it's kind of like you got to walk that line in the yin and yang. But at the foundational level, long term, like you will not be successful if you don't know your shit and if you don't care about your clients. That should be a foundation, but enough to go like, you know what? I'm not going to mess around and do something that could even possibly hurt them.
Exactly. And if like younger trainers listening, you want to separate yourself from the trainer down the street, like you have to do some kind of an assessment, because I think the average gym, they walk in, they give the potential member a tour, and if they got their credit card with them, they sign them up and, hey, you want to start right now? We got a class, going in 5 minutes. You want to separate yourself, do an assessment. I almost, it's too bad. It should be mandatory. It's almost like a doctor, you need a prescription before you could go and get your medication from the pharmacy. It's almost like and I wish there were more regulations almost in this industry where it was, you need some kind of, and you choose what you like. I don't know if there's one best way. Luka was mentioning, like at our certification, our assessment stemmed from us doing all of the, the assessments out there, and then coming up with what we felt are the most simple, practical ways to get someone in your gym, get a pretty good understanding of what's going on in their body so they could get to work. But the work has to revolve around what you found in that assessment. You can't just throw them into a group class. So if you want to separate yourself, come up with 3 or 4 or 5 quick, simple tests, and we know all the common areas of dysfunction in the shoulders, the low back, tight ankles. We know all those things. So assess that, and I'm telling you, you win people over like that, because they're used to going into a gym and just working out, and probably having whatever is bothering them get aggravated from those workouts, as opposed to a good coach says, oh, hey, put your arms overhead for me. And they can't even, then they tell you, you know what, I could barely brush my teeth in the morning. Like, my shoulder's been killing me since I was in high school. And now you look like a true professional and say, well, here's probably why X, Y, Z. Here's what we're going to do to help you fix it. I'm not going to have you do any overhead presses, because always have your why. And if you explain that to them in real simple terms, and now they know their workout's going to be customized, like you got yourself a client for life, because now they're going to leave your gym feeling better. And I think you made a great point too. There might be some exercises that you or me love, but we know if you are going to offer group training at your gym and you're going to have 8, 10, 12, 30 people in it, you need to be programming exercises in that workout that are very there's not a huge technical component to them. They should be pretty straightforward, not easy from an effort standpoint, but just not very technical to learn, and very low risk, high reward type exercises. So overhead press is great if you have the shoulder mobility, the core strength, the thoracic mobility, but we know 98% of the population doesn't, so probably not the best idea to throw thrusters into your group exercise class. Trust me, there's other ways to make them tired and get a workout, but the group training classes, I mean, we do a lot of things like ISO hold, YWTs, band pull-aparts, goblet squats. Everybody squats better if they have a weight in front of them, kind of adds some stability while you're overloading the movement slightly. Sled dragging and pushing is very hard from an effort standpoint, but very easy on the joints, not very technical. So that's what the group exercise classes should be revolving around. But unfortunately, not a lot of gyms do that.
Yeah, so I mean, and here's why, if you're a coach that's like, well, I don't know a system, man, go and follow somebody's system. Like, it's like the cook and the chef thing, right? Because I still see so much confusion out there. I'm like, look, at the beginning, somebody might never be a chef, and that's fine. But what do? You get a cookbook, and you become really good at making the meal from the cookbook.
Such a good point.
And so if this is this perfect example, like, hey, listen, you want to get great at training athletes, getting people strong, getting people in great shape, go do CPPS level 1, and now you have the cookbook, and you got to cook. And at a certain point in time, you get really good at cooking, and you know the spices, and you know what to put here, there, and the other. Now you might go, it's like, know the rules, break the rules, become the chef, make your own recipes. But I promise you this: if you haven't been cooking for a long time and learning from the greats, and you go try and make your own meal, it's probably gonna taste like shit. So
yes, and everybody wants to, again, in the Insta famous world, it's like the 21 and 22 year olds, they want to. Everybody wants to name an exercise after themselves. They want to reinvent the wheel because they think they need to do something so unique to stand out. And like, standing out is important, and it's important to be yourself, like, be unique that way. But in this world of training, I couldn't agree with you more. Like, in the beginning, follow someone else's stuff that's been doing this for at least 10, 15 years, and then make your own tweaks. And it's funny because, like, how you started this conversation on the training, talking about West Side for Skinny Bastards, like, that's what I did. I read Louis Simmons' articles, became very intrigued with that system of training. It was very new to me, but it made sense. And I did it myself as he wrote it. And then I was training a lot of high school athletes at the time. So I followed I had his cookbook, followed it to a T, and then said, you know what, I have a lot of athletes. They're doing a lot more sprinting, obviously, than power lifters, and they need a little bit more mobility. So I'm going to take this recipe, but I'm going to change this. I'm going to add, some single leg work. I'm not going to put instead of doing dynamic effort box squats with bands and chains, which is very technical and stressful, I'm going to swap that out for just a box jump or maybe some sprints. And like I moved one thing, I tweaked one thing, I added one thing, and I still named it West Side, not because I was trying, it was a respect thing. Like I wanted to make sure people know, like, if you look at this, this recipe, it's going to look very similar because I'm giving him, Louis Simmons, total credit. I tried his program, and again, I know they say you don't train West Side unless you train at West Side, but from the articles he wrote and what I knew, I did his program to a T, how he wrote about it in articles, loved it, got very strong, added a few exercises, took a couple exercises out, made a couple tweaks, changed maybe 15 to 20% of it, but 80% of it was still what I learned from him, and came up with my own recipe. But it was based on, to your point, someone else.
But you were cooking for a while.
And I was cooking before that.
Recipe,
I was cooking 7 years before that. But then, still found someone that had 30 years on me, and then followed his recipe. But yes,
perfect example.
Very good point. I was cooking for a couple years before.
Perfect example. Now, going to you, because like this is a conversation. I mean, it's relevant to me because like as I'm sitting here, my back flaring up a little bit.
Me too, brother. Dreading this flight going home.
You see me and Joe just like wiggling around a lot of shit, but it just like I know how much my training has changed, and honestly, it's changing now. And me and Farouja always talk about this stuff. And, once you get into, I would say, the later 30s into the 40s.
How old are you now?
37. I'm going to turn 37. I'm going to turn 38 in June.
Damn, you look good. You look good for your age. You're not a day over 27.
But it's the same thing where, what you said, what made you start changing, your training, where you're going. But I'd love for you to share, because like this is, more and more people are certainly reaching out to me. I know, Jay obviously is doing a lot of that, helping guys that are, in that age feeling the best that they ever have.
Yes.
And I would say you're kind of like the
I've shifted a lot to that
shifted
too.
A lot, but it's great. And I'd love to hear your thought. Well, put it this way. What your kind of training weeks look like, because I do know to a certain degree, and I think most people would think that maybe you're spending 12 hours a week training.
Oh my God, not even close.
Yeah, and that's not really true. And but I'd love to share like what your philosophy is now around staying in the shape that you're in and kind of looking the best you have probably ever, right?
Yeah, thank you. It's funny because I started off, I was known as like the NFL combine guy and all the like training athletes for speed and strength and power. And I guess doing this long enough, a lot of the high school kids and college athletes that followed me when I started, like the West Side for Skinny Bastard days. Now that was 2003, so we're going on almost 20 years. So it's funny, those kids are now in their late 30s, 40s. So I guess it was just a natural progression. I love helping athletes and training athletes, performance-based stuff. But just the information that I put out evolved because of the questions that I was getting. Like the reason why I became the NFL Combine guy is because every question somebody wrote me back in the day when I was writing for like T-Nation and stuff, it was like, how do I run a faster 40? How do I jump higher? And then people read that content and they write follow-up content. And then just all the last couple of years, it was like, hey, Joe, my low back is killing me. Like, I know you had some low back issues. How do you get out of low back pain? Hey, what do you do? Barbell benches kill my shoulder. What can I replace them with? And like now, if you look at my Instagram, it's like 90% joint friendly. Try this. This will make your low back feel better. This will make your shoulders feel better. It's more longevity and feel good based stuff. So I think like a lot of these people that followed me during the early days were in their teens and 20s, and now they're just in their 30s and 40s. So that type of information is more needed. So it's I guess I just say that it's important if you're into this in this industry. You do need to evolve and change as well. And if you're truly in it to help people, that seems to be the content people want from me. That's what they're asking most. That's what I do. That's what I do on my podcast. That's what I do on my Instagram. Like, that's the information I put out there. So fortunately, it's how I train too, because I'm 43. My training weeks change all the time. I'm a big variety guy. Like, as much as I love training, I do get bored very quickly, which is another reason why I think I gravitated towards Louis Simmons and Westside and his whole philosophy of rotating exercises and all that. I love all that stuff to this day. For me, it's more about some of the principles that I follow now, like one being where I used to be big into max effort day and like 1 rep maxes. Now the majority of my training is based on how can I make light weights feel heavy. So it's like I do a ton of warm up and like pre-fatigue stuff at the beginning of my workout. I'll do a ton of upper back, lots of glute activation type stuff, because I had for those who don't know my story, I had a tumor at 17 in my spine. It was misdiagnosed for 4 years. I had 4 years of back surgeries and experimental procedures that unfortunately I have a lot of permanent damage left to this day. So a lot of low back friendly type stuff. I don't barbell squat, barbell deadlift anymore. All of my I don't load the spine, basically. I don't do much. I know lifting in general is compressive, but I'm not putting a barbell on my back. I'm not putting a barbell overhead. I do a lot of sled dragging is a huge part of my lower body workouts. A lot of unilateral work. I'm huge into like Bulgarian split squats, reverse lunges, step ups, slowing down the eccentric, adding isometric pauses. Like, any way I can make an exercise harder where I don't have to go heavier, that's the type of stuff I'm doing. Adding 1.5 reps to the sets. Lots of fillers, what we refer to them as far as like if I'm going to take a minute rest in between a set, instead of standing there doing nothing, I'm going to do a hip flexor stretch, or I'm going to do an extra set of band pull-aparts. Tons of upper back work. I probably do at least 2 times the volume of pulling compared to pressing. And the other good shoulder tip, any of you guys out there with shoulder issues, this has made a big change. And as I've been dealing with a shoulder issue, being a meathead, by the way, on my 42nd birthday, my goal was to bench double my body weight for the first time ever. I benched 425 at 212 and destroyed my shoulder, and I'm 43 now, going on 44. I still have that shoulder issue. So I say that because you start getting older, and listen, I'm a meathead. I love lifting, but like I had like why did I wasn't doing a lot of 1RMs at the time. It was just this dumb meathead thing that I said, I want a goal for my birthday, because I have my low back issues. It couldn't be anything real lower body based that's too extreme. So I said a double body weight bench at 42 years old would be pretty impressive. So I did that, and then I end up I get it, but I ripped my shoulder, tore my partial tear in my labrum, and I think my supraspinatus, but I didn't get an MRI. So I just been dealing with that. So pointer for anybody dealing with shoulder issues: do double the amount of pulling, but horizontal more rowing compared to your pressing. And I would suggest when you press, do a 1-to-1 ratio. So 50% of the time, do some kind of a dumbbell bench, and if you really like barbell, that's fine. I would recommend against it, but do an equal amount of push-ups compared to bench pressing, just
That's a great
because
point.
with the, if you're benching properly with your scaps pulled together, retracted and depressed, which is a very stable, strong position and you want to be in, but there's a tendency to make you very tight, and your thoracic spine gets tight, your scaps get kind of locked up, and when they don't move, when your shoulder blades don't move freely, the scapulohumeral rhythm, you lack that, you're going to have shoulder issues. So that little tweak, 1-to-1 bench press to push-up ratio, but then double the amount of upper back volume, has made a huge difference. And I think 100% of the people listening would benefit from that. If you're younger and you have no shoulder problems, maybe you don't need to listen to that right now, but write that down and remember it, because someday that'll be some of the best upper body training advice you'll get.
That's a great point. I'll add to the 3-4 different things, because that we tell people, look, you got to get, because most people's core is not strong, right? And always look distal. You look away from the shoulder first. So that
always
upper thoracic. So train thoracic extension and rotation, and then get your good scapular upward rotation. And what that means is just what Joe was saying, get the scap to be able to move upwards. And there's a bunch of drills. You can find them on both our IGs and YouTube stuff. But you do that, your shoulder is going to be so thankful.
Yes.
It's not even going to be funny.
And in my, just so I don't forget to that point, my every warm up, whether it's an upper body workout or lower body workout, the key upper body areas, keep your pecs and lats. I stretch my pecs and lats multiple times a day, but they're both internal rotators, and we sit a lot and we're on our phone a lot. So stretching the pecs and lats, active, and what Luka just said, the thoracic extension and rotation, and then do some upper back activation before you start to lift. So band pull aparts, lower intensity type things like face pulls, band pull aparts, ISO hold YWTs on the floor, any of that type of stuff will just make it part of your routine. It makes a huge difference.
You know what's now that we talked about this, think about this, okay? For a lot, because I know there's thousands of coaches listening, and for that, most of you do some type of group training. If you know that people are coming into your facility, or if you're working out a facility and you're coaching groups, and the issues are going to be stuff like tight hip flexors, no core activation, you got to activate the glutes. What we're talking about, shoulders, thoracic extension, rotation, scapular upward rotation. Create a warm-up that addresses all those things. If you're doing full body training, obviously you're going to plug all that stuff in, spend 10 minutes, 12 minutes, working on those things before people go train. And guess what? Right off the bat, you're getting better results. People are feeling better. They're going hey, listen, that stuff that was bugging me, 3-4 weeks later now is getting better, because you're actually implementing this into, the programs as a group. And you're going to see a lot of similar stuff when it comes to groups. So you might as well plug that in.
We at my gym, we have, I had forever, and even at the small spot now, and me and Smitty just did a whole product on this, but we had these little pre-warm-ups where, to your point, the same thing comes up. I know we're all individuals and we're all different, but the low back, shoulder, ankle, knee pain. There's 4 or 5 that come up all the time. If you're a gym owner, if you're a trainer, you know what they are. So we came up with the kind of the best of the best, these little 5-minute or less, we call them just pre-warm-ups, that we post on the wall. And if we were doing group training, even with my athletes, if I had a group of 10 NFL guys coming in, the dude that's always complaining, my low back is tight, we had the pre-low back tightness warm
protocol,
where it's the protocol of our favorite hip flexor stretch, roll out the adductors, roll out the glutes, then an activation exercise for the core and the glutes, 5 minutes, boom, boom, boom. Come in, do those 4 exercises. We have pictures of them and little descriptions on the wall, and they would get in 5 minutes early and then do that first. And then when we went through the group warm up, they would get more out of the group warm up because they're just able to move better. I always see, especially when you get older, or if you work with athletes that are banged up, you need a warm up before the warm up. Because right now, if you just said, let's go warm up, and you said, all right, let's just get started, do 15 bodyweight squats. my body weight squats right now are going to look like shit. Like I know what I sat on a plane for 6 hours. We taught a seminar standing pretty much in one spot for 2 days. Now we're sitting down again, like sleeping in a hotel bed. There's no way I could just jump in to a warm up right now. Like I would need to roll out like less intense kind of whatever you want to call it, self massage, self myofascial release. I need a little bit of that first, stick a lacrosse ball in my glutes, like, and then I'll be able to squat properly and then now actually get a benefit out of that. But if I just cold go to do a body weight squat, even a jumping jack, like I can't get my arm over my head to just do a jumping jack cold. Like I need to do some mobilization from my pecs and my lats first before I can even do a jumping jack. So like those little pre-warm-ups, man, if you're a gym owner or a coach, you want to make a difference and spend 2 hours on a Sunday and write out those 5 little mini warm-ups, pre-warm-ups, post them on your gym wall. You might have to show each client. Obviously, you're going to have to put them through it once or twice so they know how to do each exercise. But then your job becomes so much easier, because the worst thing when you're training 10 plus people and you're trying to get the flow of the workout and everybody's into it, and that one guy is like, oh, I can't do this because of my shoulder. You're over there trying to help him and regress an exercise that doesn't bother his shoulder, but the rest of the group wants to get going. It just screws up the whole flow of the workout. So if you could take care of that ahead of time, like, hey, Luka, you do the low back protocol. Joe, you're going to do the shoulder protocol. Smitty, you're going to do the tight ankle protocol. Now we all do that, and then we jump in and warm up together, and we're all going to get a little bit more out of it.
And what's great is what we started with, saying, hey, look, what about if you shoot a video coaching those up?
Yes.
And when people come in, I mean, you do an orientation, but then you send them the video. Hey, pull it up. Look at me coaching it, right? Like now you're solving that problem. Plus it's content, because I mean that's how you came out with the mobility stuff. This like the
our original amped one was and then I did the Agile 8 was my original one,
that was the original
which was a free, again, that was just free content that I put out because I was doing it to get out of low back pain, and that thing explode, like millions of views, and people like reference it now in programs. We going again back to the original point of I put that out for free, and then years later we came out with a mobility product, and it's not like nobody bought it because like, oh, I already have your Agile 8. It was, oh, that's the Agile 8 guy. If he's charging for something, it must really be good, and I teamed up with Smitty. So like but just on my end of it, it was like nobody, we were talking about free information before, nobody didn't buy our amped warm-up product because they thought they knew it all because I gave away one free warm-up. It was more like, hey, that free warm-up he gave out worked really good. Man, if he's given more of that, it must and he's going to charge for it. That must be the really good shit, know? So that we kind of went full circle on, but I think that's important. And you just gave freaking trainers and gym owners, I think, the best advice ever. Like, you want to separate yourself, what you just said right there, have somebody come in, maybe they didn't even do their evaluation yet, but then you follow up with an email with a video that they could do at home and try something and help them out. You just beat every other gym in your town, in your surrounding area. Like, that's how you want to stand out and do it the right way without being gimmicky and bullshit. That's the type of things people should be doing to stand out. You know what?
I still don't see. Like, this is crazy to me, and I coach this on everybody. I'm like, right now, if we Googled it in a 10-mile radius in the next 60 days, I guarantee you there's probably either 0 or like maybe 1 or 2 people actually putting a seminar in their own gym. Right? Yeah. Like there's 0, and there's hundreds and hundreds of gyms around here. And like every 8 weeks we do, I do nutrition seminars, hour and a half, 2 hours for free. Then I film it and I give it away. Yeah. Right? I mean, but it's like, hey, you want to know how we approach nutrition? Well, there you go. Yep. Doesn't mean you're probably not going to be able to do it all yourself. If you've been struggling, you're going to need some help and coach and supporting and stuff like that. But this is what we do. It's free info, right? And I'm like, man, like we've done mobility workshops and filmed them. We've done, every month we have our Dan come in and do movement fundamentals, and he's a physical therapist. Yeah. And it's like, hey, it's free. Just come in and do this, and we'll show you how to move. So this is still working. I just think using tech to be able to spread the word more is kind of built in on top of that, back in the day was a little bit harder to do.
Exactly.
With that, because I know, like, I'm kind of being cognizant of the flight. I want to give you.
I'm known for being late. I can't miss this one, but we're good.
I think we're still good. But what excites you and inspires you right now? Because to me, I love talking about where are things going that you're excited about going to. Like, if you look at the future of Joe Defranco and what you're building out, and some things that you kind of fire you up, about the industry and about where you're going in the industry and what you want to achieve.
I think what fires me up is, it's funny, it's the same thing that probably pisses me off a lot, is the whole social media thing and how the world has gotten smaller and that we could reach so many more people. I'm excited that I just feel like there's no limits right now. I know we kind of already spoke about it, but I just feel like whatever you want to do, you could do. Like, you could reach people and help a lot of people. And even like this weekend was a great example. I'm excited for where our certification is going, because I feel like, and every class has been phenomenal, but this was an especially, just a very, like the exact type of coach that we want. Like, if we had our avatar of, like, when you started a certification, who are you looking for? There wasn't one person that didn't fit that description of just passionate, energetic, good energy, personable, knowledgeable. Like, so that I left while they're exhausting and they're long days, we don't take a break for lunch, nothing. We just go straight through for 2 days. It's like I left this weekend's certification with an adrenaline rush of, wow, we're reaching more people and a very high quality type of person. And a lot of that has to do, how we're reaching those people is through social media. So I can't knock it in that sense. None of those people would have been here if it wasn't for, us advertising it and promoting it on social media. So I'm very excited about that. And even like I want to get you on my podcast as well. I see how that's growing in numbers each week, and it's just crazy. Like, you see, I have a similar setup. I have like a small room. Sometimes I record the show in like my daughter's playroom, yet that show gets downloaded tens of thousands of people. And I mean, I've had shows like that are downloaded in over 200 countries. They'll send me the sheet of like how many different countries things are the show is downloaded in. And that kind of excites me when I'm like, man, we're at a time where I could sit in my daughter's playroom and basically talk to myself, although I'm answering questions that people send me, but I'm in a small room I'm in a pink room talking to myself, but all the things that I've worked so hard for and I'm so passionate about, and I've, read so much and trained so much. And I have that white belt mentality where I feel like the more I know, the more I feel like I need to learn. But the younger people in this industry and just the general population who might not be into what we do, but they come to guys like us for help, like the fact that we could reach that many people now and help that many people, and I could do it, at 1 a.m. if I want from my daughter's playroom. Like, to me, that's like, it still blows my mind sometimes when I'll listen back to my podcast or people start sending in feedback, and I'm like, damn, they're sending me feedback on that. Me talking in the room by myself 2 days ago, like 100,000 people really listened to that and benefited from it and sent me feedback on how it changed their life, or who's in chronic low back pain and now they don't, their pain is 100% gone, or a kid that got a college scholarship that I never even met that said, man, I've been following your advice, changed my life, I made the team, and then I got a scholarship. Like, some of the emails and DMs I get are mind blowing, and I'm not certainly, I'm not trying to impress anybody, but just to impress upon the fact of how insane it is, the world we live in, where a lot of people might focus on the negative. I do my best to focus on that part of social media, and that to me is still mind-blowing, the amount of people that I'm able to reach with my passion, that 20 years ago doesn't seem that long. Like, I don't know if you're 20 right now. I remember when I was 20, I thought 40, like you were an old man. Like if you said, if I was going to describe a 40-year-old guy, I'd say, yeah, that older guy, you know, the 40-year-old guy. While I hope I've evolved, there's still a lot of me I'm the exact same person. Like as far as my enthusiasm for this industry, it's the same as it was when I was 18, 20, 27. Like my mind hasn't changed in that respect. So I guess that's why it's so exciting to me when I'm like, damn, I could just sit and talk into a microphone by myself, yet help, you know, millions. If we get to that, it's remarkable. So that's what I'm excited about.
I love it, man, because two things. You know, I think one, for people to have been in an industry that do great work and that do great things, I think there's a responsibility to do what you're doing. You know what I mean? Because I love that if you read the book Legacy, one of my favorite like leadership culture books about the All Blacks, you know, one of their values is like leave the jersey better than you found it. And I try to try to live my life that way in a sense of, if I meet a person, I want to leave him better than, you know, when I met him. With my team, I want to do that same thing. But then I think the industry, and I started doing the podcast not because I had something, you know, not there's anything wrong with that, because look, I definitely think that's one of the things that everybody should strive for, to have a really great value and get paid for it and so on and so forth. But it was like, how do I just share more of my thoughts and help more people out and get coaches to, you know, like get better, but also like do better for themselves, you know, get what they deserve. And I'm like, leave the industry better than you found it. Are you giving back to the industry and making things better for people? Mm-hmm. And also, you know, are you getting the end person to, or, you know, the clients, the people that we want to help transform? That's one part. But the second part is, you know, you bring up like still being curious. And I'm like, for the people that are starting that just want to jump the gun and get success, get curious and like constantly get better, because you'll see the people that have been in it for a long time that are doing great and are doing good. Those are usually the people that are still feeling like, you know, they don't know shit.
Yes, 100%.
Just constantly getting after, you know, how can I, because to me it is like that one, like, you know, oh shit, I forgot about, let me see that. Next time I see a client, you know, I use that tool and I get better. And even though I've been in this for so long, it's still like, I'm still excited to see that shit. You know what I mean?
Hey, man, I'm so glad the way you said you started your podcast too, it just made me think, as far like doing things for the right reason in this industry. Nothing wrong with making money. I got a family, I got to feed them. I got a lot of bills to pay. So we all need to make money, but nothing. And I can't say I've ever even really done this. I might have had more of a thought, but like, if you're going to create a product with this sole purpose of like, all right, how can I make the most amount of money? I feel like that never works out as compared to doing something for the right reason. Like if you truly are passionate about something and you love it, how you said you started this podcast. My podcast, the thing that triggered me was there was one day, and I know you get this too, but just on this one particular day, I got 2 or 3 different emails, like from completely different people, don't know each other, that were basically asking me the same questions. And I remember, and I typed out a long answer, like I had some time. It was, again, a free thing, just, you know, going through my emails. Oh, here, let me help this guy out, answer the question. Open up another email, and it was like another guy pretty much asking the same question. So I went back and I like it was something about low back pain. I copied and pasted because I was like, damn, I just spent about 20 minutes writing that other dude. It's basically the same question. I copied and pasted it, but then I always like to personalize it, so I kind of made it a little more specific to the guy's question. But I spent like an hour basically answering the same email 2-3 times in a row, and it was just one of those things that clicked. And like, I wish I could just record these things so everybody could hear it at once, because a lot of people have the same questions and the same problems. So that was the sole reason why I started the podcast. I like talking about training. If I happen to have more knowledge than someone in a given area and I could help you, I want to share it. I'm not that guy that, you know, I don't want to die with a whole bunch of information that nobody else has. Like the little that I have, I'm willing to share. So it was, podcasting started, like it was like a thing. So I said, I'll talk into a microphone, and all the most common questions I get, I'll answer them. I'll put it on a podcast. And now I save myself some time from answering the same question for hours, which it's nice and all, but it's not the most productive thing to do as a businessman, as you know. So now, you know, we all win, and it's like you do it with good intentions, and I truly enjoy doing it. And I didn't even think to have any advertisers. I think I might have even mentioned like the show won't have any advertisers. Like this is used to answer your questions, and it didn't happen quick. 3-4 years later, some big advertiser, you know, now I don't even have someone that goes out and gets me sponsors or advertisers, but I start getting emails like, hey, love your podcast, you know, love your authenticity. You speak like, you know, I feel like I know you, yada, yada, yada. We would like to sponsor your podcast. And like now it's I'm not getting rich off the podcast, but it's nice supplemental income that I didn't look for at all. So that feels good. Like, hey, I'm helping people and it's making money. And I just think like some of the best products and resources out there were created out of necessity. You're solving a problem, you're helping people, and if you actually enjoy that helping people, however you're doing it, whether it's a video, audio, whatever, then it's like it's weird how like the money seems to follow. Smitty and I mentioned that Amped DVD was the first product we ever did together. It's because we met at a seminar, we started talking about YouTube, and I asked him, which one of his videos people like the best, because Smitty used to do all this crazy like strongman and grip training stuff, and he was like, man, it's funny, everybody, because I said, man, I go to you for all my grip training. If I need any information on grip training from my wrestlers or my football guys, you're like my go-to guy. So I was like, he was all excited. I was like happy to meet him. And then he was talking to me, and we're talking about YouTube, and he goes, it's funny, I posted this shoulder prehab video, and that destroyed downloads wise everything. Yeah. Every other like cool strongman video I ever put out. And I go, that's funny. I just did a video of me. This is again like in 2007. I did a video of me rolling out my glutes with a lacrosse ball in my old apartment, and I thought it was like, I didn't expect it. Anybody, I'm like, it's going to look weird, but this is really helping my low back pain when I sit on this lacrosse ball. Now it's become like a thing. Everybody does it. But back then that was kind of unique. And I go, it's funny. I got videos of guys running 4.3 second 40-yard dashes and jumping through the roof. But I just posted this video of me sitting on a lacrosse ball, and like, it's I think I had like 10,000 views in the first week, which was enormous back then. So it was, we were like, wow, yeah, I guess a lot of people are in pain. A lot of people don't know how to get out of pain. Like, maybe we should put some information out there on how to warm up properly, like some of these drills that we're showing. And it wasn't like, hey, I think this could make money. It was, hey, a lot of people seem to be struggling with this. We should share this, make a little bit more of a professional looking product and share this with people. Of course, we charged for it, but like the initial intent wasn't, I got the $1 million idea. It was, a lot of people are struggling with this. Oh, I found a lot of people are struggling with that too. Let's get together and help them. And then we were both blown away by like the sales at that time and the different countries that it sold in. And we didn't even do any market. Like, we both posted it on our website. Like, that was the marketing. and it blew up, but it was good intention, solving a problem. We both enjoyed doing it. And those are always the best quote unquote products. If you're a young trainer trying to make that quick buck, don't do it. 'Cause the other thing too is you can only make one first impression. So if you put out a shitty product because you're trying to make a quick buck,
oh man,
and now 3 years later you have some more knowledge and you might have a legitimate product, those people that bought that first one from you are going to be like, yeah, I bought from that guy that he ripped me off the first time. I ain't going near him the second time. So don't be so quick to try to make money.
You know what's interesting is 16 years later, and like, I think just the evolution of, Joe D2, you were doing the, Ask Joe, but now it's like you're doing it through the podcast, you're doing it through Instagram.
It's the same thing, just through
more different mediums, and being able to go more in depth, and probably the frequency obviously is up because it's so much easier to do.
Yes.
Doing shit back in the day would have cost like, you'd have to get a radio studio and shit,
Yeah, it's crazy.
And now you can knock it out. But man, I mean, hey, first of all, I need a picture of you in a pink room, hunched over, like looking like Bane, doing the podcast.
I'm gonna do it this week because I have to bang one out when I get home, and I'm not gonna get a chance to go to the gym and do it. So you will get that.
That would be the best profile picture of all time. But man, I could keep, we could keep talking about this for forever, man. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. Where can people find out? I know, first of all, hey guys, like I've gotten every single product. It's so usable, but like AMP 3.0 just came out, right?
Yes,
3.0.
yes.
And since Joe was mentioning AMP, it's phenomenal. It's actually, if you don't have the cookbook, that's a great
that's
cookbook.
A good one.
That's a great
That's a good
cookbook
one.
for you guys to apply into your training, into your clients' training. But where can I find out more about you, man?
Mostly Instagram is my main social media platform. So I'm at Defranco's Gym on Instagram. And my website, defrancostraining.com, is where I post the show notes and the timestamps of my podcast each week. Every Thursday, I drop a new episode. So defrancostraining.com, click on podcast, and that podcast is another place you can find me. The Industrial Strength Show on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify every Thursday. I got to get you on there soon, brother.
Definitely. I'll be out there soon. Hey, appreciate you guys for listening, taking the time out, getting better. Remember, as always, man, nothing happens if you don't do something. If you listen to this podcast and something clicked, don't worry about everything else. Take that one thing and apply it, because that's the only way you can move forward. You listen to one of these a week, you get 52 times better. Every week you add something, you do something, and you change it. I'll see you in the next Figure Life episode. Peace out.
Awesome, dude.
Phenomenal.
Thank you.
That was fucking great.
So I feel like my brain is a little fried from this week, and I rambled a couple times.
Nah, that's good. It was good rambling, though.
It's